Hey guys, Jay Hoyt here. Before we get into today's video, you guys have been showing an insane amount of love on the channel. The amount of people that are new and watching the videos, subscribing, leaving comments. I can't thank you guys enough. But help the channel grow by hitting that subscribe button down below. Let me know what you guys think of the video with a like and comment down below. But as always guys, enjoy the video. What's on guys? Jay Hoyt back with you today. Welcome back to Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. Well, we're sort of on Modern Warfare 3, but we're not actually watching some gameplay. So, of course, as most of my videos start, you see a post somewhere, you gotta talk about it. This one, it's the age-old question since the Warzone has been a thing. Which one's harder? Which one takes more of a skill set? Which one, has the better players? And it's just mind-blowing to me that not only, I think it was who was it, Ninja, I think, that was trying to compare the two. Or not, that was like, you can't compare the two, right? One's a battle royale, right? Battle royale, whatever, right? 100 people, 150 people, whatever it is, join in, right? You gotta loot up, you gotta get all this stuff, you gotta play tactically, you gotta fight off spawn, you gotta do this, gotta do that, you gotta find plates, you gotta find the buy stations, you gotta do all this stuff, rotate, you gotta storm, you got a whole mess of things you have to do during Warzone, right? Then, in Call of Duty, CDL, CODLY, if you don't know what I'm talking about, I don't know what to tell you. Better figure out what I'm talking about. But the CDL, obviously an arena shooter, 4v4, you have some of the best players in the world playing on the biggest stage in Call of Duty. And when people compare the two, now don't get me wrong, if you put any CDL pro or any amateur Call of Duty player in a Warzone lobby, they could get kills, they could make it end game, they could pretty much win, I would say, most of the games they play in. But would that be the same the opposite way around? Now, I don't remember what year it was. Was it last year or the year before when the World Series of Warzone came out? And I think most of you guys already know what I'm going to say here. But during the Solo Dolo Challenge or whatever it was, there was a ton of CDL players playing in this. And if you guys remember, who won that? Was that none other than Scump, who was a Call of Duty pro? Who was a CDL COD League superstar, member of Optic, obviously, but he won the whole thing, right? But then you look, okay, let's look past one example. Who's the highest earning Warzone pro to date? Oh, Tommy, a former Call of Duty pro? Isn't it just interesting that a lot of players, like I said, could go from CDL to Warzone and be really good, but would it be the same way the other way around? Because we found, not we obviously, but we saw it on Twitter. I don't know who these people are, but it's called the Drop Shot Call of Duty Podcast, and I don't know what they're about, but there's a clip on here that we have to watch. So here we are. It is a TikTok, but we got it here on Twitter, so I'm sorry if the quality is not great, but I missed it and I can't seem to find it again. This guy has a rather hot take that he thinks Warzone is harder than the CDL. So I want to listen to these guys and see what they have to say.
Do you think Biffle could do pretty well in the CDL?
We'll break it down afterwards.
Of course he could.
Hey,
a lot of CDL
yeah.
players always think they can't. I constantly see that argument. CDL players are always like maybe Biffle could compete, but he wouldn't even be close to a top player in the league. And it's like,
okay,
they think he doesn't have the skill set. I'm sorry, I'll never agree with them, and I'll never fully understand their reasoning. But I think being the best Warzone player in the world is way more skillful than being the best CDL player in the world. Maybe that's a hot take for CDL players, but they act like there's so much strategy. You sit there and hold an angle and wait for some guy to run around the corner. How do you think Biffle would not be able to do that? Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, exactly.
You literally sit there and hold an angle.
Yes.
It's not that hard.
That
so much more
though.
thought goes into playing Warzone, so much more strategy over the length of the match.
Do you think Biffle...
So, like I said, we're going to break it down. So, Biffle, I don't know much about him, but I know he is regarded as one of the better Warzone pros. Now, here's the thing, right? If you put any Warzone pro, any amateur Warzone player in a Call of Duty game, could they do pretty well? I would think yes, they could get a lot of kills. But here's where they talk about the strategy where all they do is sit and hold an angle and wait for someone to come around the corner. No, that's not true. In a game like Hardpoint, as you guys know, if you've watched my channel or anybody else's YouTube channel that plays Call of Duty, you have to think about, okay, let's get to the hardpoint first. You have to now hold the hardpoint, prevent the other team from getting in there, but then also at the same time, you got to be thinking about where's the next hill that you have to get to and, you know, try to get all this time on, while also rotating through the map to try to give yourself the best spawn for that next hardpoint. Then off of that second hardpoint, you now have to think about what's going to be the best for the third hill in hardpoint, and then give yourself the best spawns for that. Well, also, you have 4 other players on the opposite team trying to do the same exact thing against you, right? Everybody knows what the goal is of a hardpoint game, right? You got to get 250, or you got to be up when the time runs out. But it's not just as simple as just sitting on a head glitch and just staring one direction and being like, all right, wait for somebody. No, that's called hunting, right? That's hunting. We go out in the woods, get a gun, find a deer or like a turkey or something. That's hunting. That's where we're waiting for an animal to come to you. This is Call of Duty, right? You got to think about these strategies in your head. Now, if I go this way, is this a good push or not? Or what about rotating through this way or this alleyway or going up top and on a second floor or third floor or going around the back trying to fight for that? Is it worth it? Is it not worth it? Am I too late? Do I need to be on rotation? There's a lot more strategy than just sitting there and holding an angle waiting for someone to run around the corner. Right now, obviously, I'm going to be a little bit biased, right? I'm part of the CDL community. I'd like to think so anyway. You know, playing Call of Duty for 15 years, whatever it's been now, a lot of years. And when you think about Warzone, I mean, I don't play it a lot, but you have the bounties and the plates, and it's basically you get off spawn, try to find as much money as possible, and then buy yourself a loadout. Then you basically have your guns, right? And you don't like pick up floor loot really, right? And maybe you will at the very first, you know, spot if you're contested. But within, like, I mean, a lot of these good players are getting their loadouts, you know, within a couple minutes of the game first starting, getting everything you need, right? Getting your main LMG, AR, whatever it may be, submachine gun, pistol, sniper, you know, all your nades you want, all the perks you want, and everything of what you want, you get it instantly, right? Which is what multiplayer is. Like, you pick your class, but that's kind of the same thing as Warzone. Like, once you get enough money to buy the thing, go over to it, boom, there's your loadout, right? So I want to break down more of what this guy said, but I don't remember his exact wording. So let's watch it one more time, but we're going to pause it.
Could do pretty well in the CDL?
Of course he could.
Hey,
a lot of CDL
yeah.
players always think they can't. I constantly see that argument. CDL players are always like maybe Biffle could compete, but he wouldn't even be close to a top player in the league. And it's like, they think he doesn't have the skill set. I'm sorry, I'll never agree with them, and I'll never fully understand their reasoning.
So I know what he's about to get to, but he doesn't have the skill set is what people would say, right? Now, like I said earlier, you can be great at getting kills, right? You could be a natural-born slayer that could get all the kills in the world. That is your job, to go around, kill everything on the map. But here's the thing, right? You can't just get kills and just win the game. This is not team deathmatch, right? Between Hardpoint, Search and Destroy, and Control, that's 3 different game modes that you have to be the best in, right? All have different strategies, all have different ways to play, and all take a different type of strategy, right? It's not just hold an angle and wait for someone around a corner. There's a lot more than just that. But like he said, could Biffle easily learn the rotations and learn how to play, you know, in the CDL? Yeah, probably. But getting those mental rotations in your mind, getting the thinking ahead in your mind. Because with Warzone, it's just get your loot that's right away, and then you basically go challenge people. But also, you see a lot of tournaments for Warzone, and who are they playing with? Right? They're playing with, 4 people that are good, and they're playing in basically a public match lobby where there's some, basically free kills. Right? How is that making you the best player in the world, right? Now, what we've yet to see out of Warzone, at least that I've seen, put 100 of the best Warzone pros in the same lobby. Then what do you get? You get a game of hide and go seek. Which is why I hate playing Warzone. Right? Hide and seek when you get into those good lobbies. Right? Fortnite, what do you get when all the best players in the world are in the same lobby? You get people playing so passively. But then when you see them on stream in public match lobbies and rank play lobbies, what do you see? You see them W-keying, sprinting, box fighting, getting all crazy, up in their face, just showing how good they are. But in Warzone, you don't really see that. I mean, obviously, you're going to catch people on rotation. You might get a lucky snipe and get someone knocked and might be able to get the kill and get a team weak or, whatever it may be. You get the jump on somebody, get some good nades in or, whatever. But then you end up getting a game where it plays so slow that you're running building to building to building to building, just hiding and waiting. And that's not fun. That's not really strategy. That's hiding from gunfights. Right now, I know obviously you have to have some type of strategy in order to win the Warzone game, to win the BR. But at the same time, if you actually played it how it's supposed to be, and as soon as you see somebody, not that you have to sprint right into it and be like, we need to get those guys, but don't necessarily just back away from the fight. Obviously, if it's not a good situation, I get it. But at the same time, the amount of people that are like, there's a team there, we're going to rotate over there, the complete opposite side of the map. That's not fun, but let's keep going in the video.
But I think being the best Warzone player in the world is way more skillful than being the best CDL player in the world. Maybe that's a hot take for CDL players, but they act like there's so much strategy. You sit there and hold an angle and wait for some guy to run around the corner. How do you...
I mean, like I said, I don't know who either of these two guys are, but if that's all you think the CDL is, then maybe you should watch the CDL. Because you're just saying, they sit there and hold an angle and wait for someone around the corner. No, it's not that simple. Right? Yeah, some people are more stand still and wait for others, but that's usually, what we call turret ARs in COD, right? Octane was a good example of that. He was the human turret, right? He stood in the back, shot over his team. But it's not just that simple.
Do you think Biffle would not be able to do that? What are you talking about?
Yeah, exactly.
You literally sit there and hold an angle.
Yes.
It's not that hard. So much more thought goes into playing Warzone, so much more strategy over the length of the match.
Do you think...
So much more strategy over the... I mean, again, you can't really compare the two because they're two completely different games. One's an arena shooter, one's a BR. But not only that, but when you look at some of these people that will compare the two, you get guys like, mainly the CDL pros, and they'll respond to it. Well, one being Mr. Nade Shot himself, and he said, now this is, again, I don't know Warzone that well, but imagine this, right? Say you land Lowtown on Yurgistan, or yours, I don't know, the Warzone map with some POI. Take the size of the drop zone, now cut that whole area in half. You just spawn in there for 10 minutes against 4 players as good or better than Biffle and try to get in the hill for 250 seconds before they do. No smokes, no third parties, no squaring up, or you just square up against 4 of the best players in the world. Would you rather do that on a stage for $1 million, or would you rather run for 20 minutes on a map the size of Narnia, avoiding gunfights and praying to God you get circle pull in the final zone? Honest and sincere question. But underneath this post, hopefully you guys can see, I think you can, But underneath this post, I had to see the comments, right? So Standy, one of the, I think is he in the league? I don't remember. I think he is. But of course, they're chatting it up. But the podcast actually responded to Nadeshot's post, which again is the message I just read. I don't know if I actually included the screenshot or not. But down below here, he said, placement alone is not going to win you any Warzone tournaments. These days, must tourneys... What? Such as that if you prayed to God, I don't even know what this is trying to say, but you'd get no points in the tournament with 0 kills and not earn any points. But then we read here, right? Nadeshot responds, this is certainly nuance to the picture I just painted, but regardless, I still think the picture is clear enough. I don't doubt that there are a handful of players who could compete in Warzone that could compete with the highest level in Challengers or the CDL, but the argument about which is more difficult is a pretty easy decision. Then they responded with, yeah, obviously we've being hyperbolic as well, but we stand by the thesis. Why would the most skilled players compete in the CDL when they could just stream full-time instead of make way more money and not have to scrim hours a day? Because here's the other thing too, Warzone players don't scrim. So like, again, when you're just playing, you know, like public matches and, you know, squad wiping these nobodies, then how does that make you the best CDL or the best Warzone player in the world? Like, that just doesn't really make sense. Then it also says the incentives for being the best players who are skilled enough to do either are clearly in the later camp. So I would assume that's where the majority of the skills will fall. Now, obviously, I could go on for days reading all of these comments and trying to, you know, figure out a solution here. But at the same time, yes, there is more eyes on Warzone because it is a battle royale. It is, you know, a game that has, for whatever reason, more eyes on it. But if you've been a Call of Duty fan and in the Call of Duty community as long as I have, and you've seen, you know, competitive Call of Duty go from events where they're playing for like $5,000 or $10,000 or $25,000 tournament, and they'll make $10K out of it, and then taxes on top of that. And now they're playing in tournaments where they get $1 million. $1 million for one team, right? Before it was $1 million total prize pool. Winner would get 400,000, then like 250 or whatever, and it would just scale down from there. Now the amount of money that is in this is absolutely incredible. But Warzone wouldn't be a thing without competitive Call of Duty, without Battle Royales being big. So, like I said, it's a really interesting argument, a really interesting conversation that I would love to hear more from you guys in the comment section below. You know, obviously both sides could do well at either. You know, would it be more beneficial to be a CDL pro that retires and takes on full-time content, plays Warzone, plays ranked play, does other type of content, or be in either one of the scenes? I don't know. It's a big kind of mess that you could go either way on, that, you know, it's such a hard argument because you could go both ways. But that's going to do it for today's video. If you did enjoy, make sure to support the channel by hitting the like button down below. Hit the subscribe button if you're new here or you just haven't yet, and leave all of your thoughts down in the comment section. But as always, guys, we'll see you